Welcome to Real Estate Exposed, helping people in San Diego buy, sell, and refinance their biggest investment, delivering you timely truths, exposing important issues, and helping you get into the right home. Here are your hosts, real estate expert Daniel Beer, top-ranked professional by sales volume at one of San Diego's largest brokerages, and his mortgage partner, Todd with over $2 billion in funded loans.
Good morning. Good morning to you. Real Estate Exposed. We're excited to be here. Man, huge news coming out of the Federal Reserve and the markets, the environment. Look, at the same time, big news regarding rates.
Right.
But it's kind of funny almost. Like, why are we so surprised when we've known this day was coming? But my God, it's here. And when it gets here, it raises a lot of questions. So thank God Todd Pianin here, Home Street Bank, is with us here in the studio, as we are every single week with you. Because, Todd, how can we make sense of what the Fed said, the coming rate hikes, what they're going to do, how they're going to affect buyers, sellers, how do we, positioning, plans, credit card debt, everything.
Right.
This is a big deal.
This is a big deal.
So walk us through it. What first comes to mind on what you see being some of the biggest impacts?
Well, let's talk about it. The two biggest things let's talk about is that she's raising the overnight rate, and people are going to ask, what is the overnight rate? The overnight rate is basically the bank borrowing rate. So it's when one bank borrows from another bank, when they go to the federal window, how much money it costs them. So what does that mean? That means in long term, short term, it means that rates are going up. I mean, that's as simple as that. So if it costs the bank more money to borrow money, it's going to cause rates to go up, which is what's going to happen. So what does that mean for you as a consumer? That means your credit card rates are going to go up. That potentially means that your, the 0% financing we're seeing on the new car purchases, 0%, that could go away very quickly. We're going to see 30-year fixed rate mortgage rates go up. We're going to see a shift in the marketplace from doing 30-year fixed rate mortgages. We're probably going to see a shift going back into, like what you and I talk about all the time, Dan, doing the short-term fixed rate loans, the 5-year, 7-year, 10-year, because those are going to be more competitive over a 30-year fixed rate. But what people don't realize is she said she's going to raise 4 times next year too. So this is her first raise. That means 5 times over the next 12 months. That means we're going to see interest rates just as you and I have predicted, are going to just keep rising and rising and rising, which is going to cause some heartburn. So if you've been sitting on the sideline as a buyer right now, you could potentially miss the boat. You could potentially get priced out of the market because, for every eighth or quarter an interest rate that you're paying on a new home, that potentially impacts what your affordability is.
Now, what about that buyer, though, that says that this should then cause, home prices to drop?
It's not going to cause home prices to drop.
And I agree with you. I'd love to hear from you why you think so, but I agree with that. Basically, it's...
Well, it's the Fed saying that she sees inflationary concerns coming into the marketplace.
Exactly.
And so inflationary concerns, what inflation means is that things are going to start costing more money. So meaning costing more money means that home prices are going to go up, which means that car prices are going to go up, which means your consumer goods are going to go up. Right now, we've been more in a deflationary environment, so we've seen things come down, not necessarily home prices, because we've seen home prices, as you and I said, over San Diego County rise anywhere from 3 to 5% as a countywide average. But we're going to see we're now moving into an inflationary cycle. So I don't agree that we're going to see home prices come down. That's the last thing that's going to happen.
And I agree with that, primarily based on the low inventory levels. There's San Diego's virtually built out as far as buildable land. If you want to build in San Diego County, you have to you have to get out there and start pushing into the desert and start pushing into like some of the furthest reaches of the mountains that we have, like deep into East County and Northeast County.
Right.
It's very difficult to build anything new. And that's why, look, here's the evidence of it. When you have companies like a Lennar, they did something like a 30-unit or a 30-home project in La Jolla not long ago in the last couple of years. You have a Standard Pacific that right now off of Carmel Valley Road is building a little community there, and I don't know the exact number of the homes, the amount of homes they're doing, but it's somewhere around 50, 75 or so homes in this little pocket off of Carmel Valley Road. Why am I sharing this with you? Because those are companies that typically wouldn't touch a project with any less than 500 homes, 1,000 homes.
Right.
So when you see builders of that magnitude trying to squeeze little projects into little corners of San Diego County. That tells you we are virtually out of buildable area.
Buildable land. So basically
Exactly.
what you're saying is that that existing homes or resales are going to become more predominant, which and if the inventory levels stay at the levels that they're at, we're going to be in a situation where, it's just going to cause inflation on that kind of stuff. I mean, one of the things that people need to think about too is that your credit card rates are going to go up. So when I say your credit card rates, so if you've got credit card debt right now and you were thinking about refinancing your home and paying off your credit card debt, you want to do that now. You don't want to wait on that because, potentially you're going to start seeing your minimum payments start to go up and up and up and up, which again becomes another qualifying issue.
If that's a position you're in and you want to connect with Todd at Home Street Bank, talk about how you can refinance and take care of something like that, the number to call is 858-900-3368. We'll put you through to Todd's team directly, 858-900-3368. Todd, that is an interesting point, right? Because everybody's always thinking, home prices. But this trickles down to the basic, essentially what this is doing, actually, just to step back for a moment, is it's redefining the cost of money in our society,
Yep.
in our American economy.
Correct.
It is establishing what is the cost of capital, what is the value of a dollar, and what should a dollar be expected to generate. Right? Because at a minimum, it also increases the rates that we get out of even something as basic as a savings account.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to track. I think, my personal prediction is we're going to see some kind of knee-jerk reaction here in the very beginning. You're going to get people that are going to start calling, hey, we want to sell quickly, the prices are dropping, or hey, we better buy something now. And you know what? That's just going to create opportunity for those that see what the road looks like into the long term.
I think what'll help too, though, Dan, on the listing side is going to be that there's a lot of people out there right now that have that are in their homes, and because rates have been so low, they were on, let's say, a 5-year fixed or a 7-year fixed, and now they switched over to the adjustable piece of their mortgage,
right?
And so the rates dropped dramatically, and they're paying less than 30-year fixed rate money,
right?
But now they're going to start seeing that these things are going to start increasing dramatically. Sure. And when you're on a short-term fixed rate loan like a 5-year, 7-year, or 10-year, the balance of the term gets amortized over a 25-year period of time, a 23-year period of time, or a 20-year period of time. Mm-hmm. So when rates are going up, you're going to see that on these short-term loans that people were in these mortgages paying nothing on, that they're now not. There could be affordability issues too, because now their payments are going to go up. So one of the things I would throw back to you is it could cause, it potentially could cause some foreclosures. It potentially could cause some new short sales coming to the marketplace because people can't afford their payments.
Which actually really makes sense with the cyclical nature of a marketplace. I mean, we're in an environment now where we virtually don't have any REO or bank-owned properties foreclosures. There's here and there, but it's so little that it virtually doesn't exist right now.
Right.
And it will exist again, of course.
Correct.
And it doesn't mean that we're falling off a cliff. It doesn't mean look.
Let's
get something clear.
This is a good thing that she raised rates.
Yeah, let's go back to the fundamentals here. The fact is that they feel the economy is strong enough to sustain it.
Right.
That's what it comes down to.
Correct.
And also, let's be clear that we're all going to play in the same we're all going to be in the same environment, right? In the same arena.
Right.
And in this higher now interest rate environment, there will be those of us that get rich and those of us that get poor and those of us that do well and those of us that don't. Those of us that, keep our mind in a steady, balanced place where we don't suddenly overreact and do what we shouldn't do.
Right.
And those of us that go and jump off the cliff.
Right.
So the question really just becomes, who are you going to be?
Right.
Who are you going to be? And who are the professionals that you're sitting down with to just reassess your plan on what you're doing with your investable assets, and especially some of the biggest, two of the biggest, what does that mortgage look like, and what is the right mortgage vehicle, and what does your real estate portfolio look like? What's its current value? How much equity do you have? Is that the right place where it should be invested? Should it be pulled out to go elsewhere? It's just a matter of taking a look at, here's the world we live in. Wishing interest rates were higher or lower won't get us anywhere, but we can definitely put a plan together to help you and your family succeed and be positioned to accomplish your long-term goals.
Agreed.
And the number, if you wanted to sit down with Todd or I, Todd Pianin at Home Street Bank, myself, Daniel Beer, the Daniel Beer Group, we can do that. And the phone number is 858-900-3368. Again, 858-900-3368. So we'll look forward to getting together with you. We're going to keep tracking this and the developments that happen as this all unrolls.
We'll be here every week. We'll be here every week to answer your questions. We look forward to talking to you. Be back right after the break.
Welcome back to the show. This is Real Estate Exposed. Daniel Beer Group, Todd Pianin, Home Street Bank. Man, we love sending our clients to Home Street Bank. Can't say enough about them, but there is so much market activity going on, so much news going on, current events going haywire. Todd, let's talk about some of the biggest highlights and events that we saw this past week.
Well, I mean, one of the things that let's just talk about, Dan, did you realize the LA Unified School District, which is the second largest school district in the country,
amazing,
on Tuesday shut down all their schools because of an email threat that could possibly be a terrorist attack that was going into the schools. I mean, how do you tell your kindergarten student, your kindergartner, your first grader, your second grader, how do you tell them when they go back to school, when they went back to school on Wednesday, that everything is okay? I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, it just seems to me as though we're not taking these threats. I mean, we're not taking this whole experience as seriously as we should be taking it. I mean, ISIS is becoming a part of our day-to-day lives, a part of our day-to-day conversations. I mean, you had the GOP debates last week as well, and it was a huge discussion about how, our current president is not really doing anything to change what's going on in that whole arena. I mean, you saw Cruz and you saw Rubio really come out with some really good plans. Trump, who's the front runner, basically, did more of his Trump stuff. He does more on the stump speeches than he does in these debates.
Yeah, but what I really hope, though, as far as whoever this next president is, because clearly you're running for office, you have to come out with, big plans and big position, and you have to, knock your chest a little bit. And,
right.
You have to come out that way. So what I hope is that what we're getting from these candidates is actually going to be who they're going to be in office, and we don't just get another. I mean, I almost feel like much of Obama's entire presidency was a lame duck presidency.
Yes.
I mean,
well, it wasn't lame duck because he got some things accomplished that basically made your and my lives miserable with the Dodd-Frank bill.
Yes, he did.
And, increased our healthcare costs, which I don't know if you've seen how much your healthcare is costing you.
Oh, man, I don't let my wife show me the bill.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not he's accomplished some things. Would I say that was good? No. Would I say that things are good? No. I mean, we're going through it right now, Dan, with even like the TRID stuff that we're not going to get into on the show, but I mean, closings are getting delayed. I mean, I'm hearing big banks that, aren't closing for 45 days, 60 days. I mean, we're not having those problems, but other banks are.
I actually think it should be mentioned, at least for a moment. Like, the Dodd-Frank did change so much. And now these new regulations, just for the sake of simplicity here, it's called TRID. Basically, we're seeing delays across almost any loan that we have out there that's not with Home Street. You guys somehow are getting loans approved in 2 to 3 weeks, often 2 weeks. I don't know how you're doing it necessarily, but it's more critical than ever. We're starting
long hours.
We're honestly starting to, really think about putting a policy in place in our business that if you're not at least pre-approved with Home Street, then we can't recommend your offer to our sellers. Why? Because all of those that we've allowed through without that, it's caused our sellers a tremendous amount of heartache and expense because, you're out of a home and it's not closing when you think it's going to close. It's costing you money every day. And it's really kind of turned our operations upside down as far as all of the complaints that are coming and all the issues and last second mishaps through other lenders.
Right.
And so more than ever, I do feel it's important. You need to make sure that your lender has their arms wrapped around these new regulations, TRID being, what we would refer to it here in the industry. And Todd Pianin, Home Street Bank, his loan partner, Taisha, it's just a pretty critical mistake if you're not at least talking to them, whether they be your primary or your secondary backup position. If you wanted to connect with us, by the way, this is Real Estate Exposed. The number is 858-900-3368, 858-900-3368. But going back to what's happening in the world here, Todd.
Well, let's just go back to TRID for 1 second, Dan. I mean, I think this is going to be a short term, meaning, we're still going to have problems going into first quarter next year. So I don't want to bash everybody else that's out there. I mean, I appreciate the fact that I'm
giving you my personal experience, and it's not a bash.
Yeah,
the reality is we're dealing with a lot of delays and a lot of issues, rate locks that are expiring with other lenders. We are actually dealing with those things.
Right.
I mean, I could have a number of our sellers in here as a guest next week. They could talk to you about those things.
Right.
And I could also have a panel of those that the buyer is using Home Street and how we don't have those issues.
Right.
So
we just put the client first, and that's sort of, that's from our EVP down, our head of, single family lending. She just is phenomenal, and she just feels like there's real people involved. And, that's one of the reasons why Tyson and I chose to go to work for Home Street Bank, because they actually care about your clients, they care about you, and they care about the real estate agents involved, and they realize that you have a seller and a buyer on each transaction. So, we've got people working 12, 14 hours a day to make sure we're closing your loans on time, and so that way we're not causing that kind of drama. I'm not trying to do a commercial for Home Street. I think I'm just giving you, I know we're going through the pain. We're not opening the kimono to everybody else to let them see the pain that we're going through, but we're making it happen, and we're still closing on time.
You're making it your pain rather than their pain.
Correct. So going back to what you want to talk about, let's talk about the GOP debates for 1 second. So I understand your question, Dan, about, are they campaigning, and are they going to be this person that they're saying they're going to be? I think, and I think you believe this too, the only way to fight back with these terrorist groups is we have to show power. We have to show power. And we need a president that is actually going to stand up and is actually going to be who is going to deliver power and rebuild our military.
Well, let me ask you this, Todd, and let me ask you, listener, the same question. You can go to you can find us on Facebook, post it there. What is the what are the one or two most important issues that you need to get out of the candidate you're going to vote for, right? So even if everything else is perfect and everything else is just the way you would have dreamed it up, is there a deal killer issue for you?
That's a good question. That would be very interesting. I think that, and Facebook's done some polling on that too. So I think you should, but I would love to see people do that at the Real Estate Exposed Facebook page and tell us what's the most important issue that we can talk about.
What about for you? What is the most important issue that you need a strong candidate?
Repealing Dodd-Frank and rebuilding our military and increasing better relations with Israel. I have three. Those are my three.
Repealing Dodd-Frank.
Improving our relations with Israel. Improving our relationship.
And the third one
is beefing up our military. We've got the oldest military that we've ever had since FDR. It's unbelievable. So, I think that those are what are for you.
I don't think there would have been even a remote chance that I would have said this even 6 months ago, or maybe a couple of months ago. But at this point, that militant Islamic threat is becoming so strong, so present, that it comes right back to a basic human need, and we can't have more Los Angeles threats and there was a reason it's taken so seriously. It's not because we think it was some stinky teenager making doing a prank from his home.
Right.
It's because there's actually a force out there that's able to carry it out.
Correct.
And so, to me, we need to have a very concrete, strong plan to deal with that issue, on every level, from how we deal with it abroad to how we deal with it through our immigration laws here locally. And I'm not saying that I need someone that's going to come out and say they're going to. I'm not saying that we need someone that's going to come out with a machine gun and blow everybody up. I'm not trying to find the person that's going to make big statements.
Right.
I just want an actual concrete plan on how do we deal with this and manage this and live a safe life here on this beautiful North American continent of ours. Coming up next,
we're going to talk about the home selling seminars.
Yep, we're going to talk to you about the home selling workshops in the face of all this, the rising interest rates. The situation abroad, the political climate. How do you position your home for sale? You're going to hear about it. That's next. So welcome back. We're here with you. It's Real Estate Exposed on News Radio 600 KOGO. I'm Daniel Beer at the Daniel Beer Group with Todd Pianin, Home Street Bank. And that was a fun segment we're coming out of, huh?
That was a really fun segment and very interesting.
A lot going on in the world.
A lot going on in the world.
Just like there's a lot going on in the world of home selling and why we provide our home selling workshops to the public. We want to talk about to you, if you're thinking about selling your home, and we've been with each other here on the air for the better part of the year, talking about strategies, what to look for, what to avoid, how to position yourself for success when you're going to sell your home, and possibly going to sell your home and then positioning yourself for a successful purchase, which the two have to marry each other.
Right.
And there's a dance there, right?
Correct.
So what we're doing is we're having the third iteration of our home selling workshops. And if you're thinking about selling a home, if perhaps you've already experienced the pain of an expired listing, so you know what it looks like to go on the market and stay on the market and then end your listing period unsuccessfully. If you want to figure out how to better position yourself for today's market, because the techniques and the strategies and the environment today versus that of 2 months ago and 6 months ago and a year ago, Todd, it's very different, right?
100%. I mean, so every quarter we do these home selling seminars, and right now I know the dates that we have down, I believe, are February 9th, 10th, and 11th across the county. And I mean, all I can tell you is that we've gotten such overwhelming success every time we do these seminars. It's unbelievable. I mean, what you teach, it's a learning experience. Though it's not a sales pitch for the Dan Beer Group.
Exactly.
It's not a sales pitch to use Home Street Bank. It's really just to give you some ideas to think about on how you should sell your home. And the response has been unbelievable. I know that Dan, I mean, you have picked up a couple listings off the last two home seller seminars and done really, really well for those clients.
Well, it's more about them doing well for them, but there's a lot of people that came to the workshops, implemented the plan in their own way.
Correct.
Did it with whoever their agent was. And it really has to do with you. If you want free tickets to the workshops, if you want to know how to position your home for success, how to use buyer psychology in your favor to create a negotiating advantage, and then talk about what should I fix up or not fix up in my house. Staging. What techniques should we use? Shouldn't we use? Why should we stage? Should you simply stage because HGTV says to stage?
$1 Million Listing does.
Well, right?
Right.
Or is there a reason you should do it? Should everybody do it? Or how does, typically the answer to that, should everybody do X? The answer is no.
Right.
But so should you? Does it match what you're in, what your home is in need of in order to best position for sale? And the coolest part about it is what you learn. It's literally the process that I've used in our team to sell 124 homes now year to date.
That's awesome.
This year.
That's awesome.
Okay, keep in mind that the average agent, I say this only not to, not to build ourselves up. But the reason I bring it up is because you're thinking of selling, yet you know a cousin, a friend, an uncle. You all know people that are in the business of selling real estate and who very gladly offer their advice.
Right.
But let's face facts. It takes virtually nothing to get licensed and to be a part of this industry.
Right.
It's very easy for anybody to be a licensed agent and then offer their, quote unquote professional advice. So in order to understand how qualified that advice is, you need to understand how much experience is behind it. And the typical agent in San Diego County, the average agent this year will sell roughly 3.7 homes over the course of the entire year. So it literally would take most of the agents you're out there talking to, in the range of 30 years plus just to match the level of experience we have this year. So the reason, again, I'm sharing that with you is if you're looking to sell your home and you want qualified advice and to understand exactly a plan that you can implement for the successful sale of your property, and not one we're guessing at or it's not theoretical, it's not, hey, hopefully this will work, but one that's actually literally worked and helped our team sell 124 homes year to date,
right,
then you have to call and get your free tickets. And the number for those free tickets is 858-900-3368. Plus, we're going to get to meet you, which we're really looking forward to. Todd, it's so much fun, isn't it? Just getting face-to-face, belly-to-belly with our listeners and helping people position their home for sale, regardless, with no contingency of who you use and who you don't use. You're going to figure out who your professional is, but we're going to tell you what to look for when selecting that person, or if you implement the strategy yourself.
So one of the questions I have for you, Dan, though, is like, can you give us a little sneak peek of like what are some of the things that you tell them? Should I paint my house before I have you come look at it?
Yeah, so that's one of the biggest things that we've been facing, actually. You know, there's a lot of people, and good for them, right? They're trying to improve their property before going to sale.
Right.
But what you'll find is that often, you know, decisions are being made on what that homeowner thought would be nice or the color they like, right? So when you go to sell your home, we're going to teach you how to position it for the biggest possible audience, how to put certain activities in place that make it as probable as possible that we can identify the entire marketplace for your home. So it's a shift in mindset from can we go out and find a buyer versus can we go out and find the marketplace? Then can we actually funnel that marketplace into a strategy and put them through a process where they're there to compete with one another and help and have the highest that the market will bear rise. This is if you're looking to actually have it sold for the most the market will bear, which is typically people's goal.
Right.
But you know, the typical process genuinely just frankly doesn't serve that goal, and have it done in the shortest amount of time in a predictable fashion. That's what you're going to be getting. You're going to get the nuts and bolts of it. And we'd love to send you your free tickets. This is the first time we're announcing this round of the workshops. The tickets, just give us a phone call or look up Todd Pianin, Home Street Bank, Daniel Beer at Daniel Beer Group, Windermere.
Real Estate Exposed on Facebook. I mean, we're all over the place.
Or simply call this number. Pick up the phone and dial 858-900-3368. That's 858-900-3368. Coming up next here.
Can't wait to talk to you guys coming back after the break.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about a number of things that are going to affect the future here of what that environment looks like. And you can't miss this based on what the Fed is doing and how the markets are turning. Welcome back. It's Real Estate Exposed. Daniel Beer, the Daniel Beer Group, and Todd Pianin, Home Street Bank. Just talking about our home selling workshops coming out of the previous segment and the free tickets we're giving out. We're really excited and looking forward to doing it. So,
Dan, coming out of the home seller workshops that we just talked about after the last segment, I have one question, and I guarantee you all of our listeners has the same question.
What question is that, my man?
My question is, what's the one thing that you would, if I'm going to list my house with anybody,
sure,
and I want to put it on the market,
okay,
what's the one thing I should do? Period. What's the one thing? Just give me one.
The one thing you should do is value yourself. The one thing you should do is if you value yourself appropriately, if what
do you mean by that? Value yourself.
If by valuing yourself, in my opinion, most home sellers that accept the snap some photos, slap them online, and wait around for a buyer process, or methodology,
right?
That's so void of strategy, of process. That's really just a very thoughtless way to sell a $multi-$100,000 asset.
Right.
So if you, in my opinion, those people are not valuing what they have, what they're offering, and just how much they deserve out of the home selling process. You know, we've talked about it time and time again how, unfortunately...
So I should tell you what I think my house should sell for?
No, you should expect to receive more than the list it and pray model or plan that is so prevalent in the industry. If you can just expect more, if you could actually expect that you deserve professionally produced materials, a process that's proven and done over and over and over, that you don't have to be pressured into working with your relative that just failed out of high school and went and got a real estate license.
So if I can, So as a seller, what you're saying is expect more out of my real estate agent. You're saying expect more that they're going to deliver. That I should get value for the money I'm paying them.
Absolutely. There's two ways you can go. Okay, you can. And it's amazing, man, how many people are looking for who's going to give me the lowest interest or the lowest commission,
right?
That's already somebody saying there's so little that I expect out of this process. I pretty much know that all I'm going to get is just someone slapping some photos online that they're probably taking with a cell phone and then boom, here comes my buyer.
But Dan, on this show, and we're Real Estate Exposed, you've said that we have low inventory in the marketplace right now. So if I put my house on the market and I can get a cheap deal on my commission with a realtor, my
Todd,
house should just sell.
In business, people have to trade value for money. In the absence of value, if you're in the absence of value, if the agent you're talking to immediately goes to let's discount, they're doing that because they understand they're not offering value. In the absence of value, you must discount. That's the only way to compete in the economy, is to discount. Now, what I would tell you is think this through. Your home is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars if you're in San Diego County. At least
millions,
most are, potentially millions. And we don't, regardless of the price point, but let's use the median price point in San Diego County, roughly in that 480 or so range.
485.
Right? 485.
Right.
Well, you don't negotiate a $485,000 home, $100 this way and $100 that way.
Right.
You negotiate $10,000 that way or $10,000 this way. And if it were so easy as to say, well, there's low inventory, so we'll just slap a sign outside and we'll wait around for a buyer, you may very well sell your house. But did you get the most the market would bear? Was it, did you navigate the disclosure process properly? Did you get taken advantage of in the repair negotiation? And did it cost you tens of thousands of dollars? Because if it were that simple, every home on the block would sell for the same amount.
Right.
Every Plan 2 in whatever community would sell for a certain number, and every Plan 1 would sell for another number. And in neighborhoods where there are no Plan 1s and Plan 2s, maybe an older neighborhood, say something like a North Park, well, everything would sell at the identical price per square foot. But we know that's not the case. So what is the case? Okay? Those metrics, those basic metrics, price per square foot and so on, that everybody leans on so heavily, the only place that's going to get you is to a probable range. And then you're going to be on the high side of that range and the low side of that range, and that is tens of thousands of dollars.
Right.
And so you need a process in place. And more than anything, I tell you, because you're going to value yourself, because you understand you're worth the best,
right,
you're going to demand that it's not a process that someone's making up on the spot, but rather one that's founded on a ton of experience and a huge track record doing so time and time again. If you just start there, if you demand that, and you were to ask every agent you interview, and I suggest you interview a couple, okay? Interview a couple agents.
Right.
If you interview these agents and ask them, what are you going to do that's different from what every agent out there is doing? Just starting there, you're going to be on your way to finding a better solution for you that's going to bring you the right result and get your family to where you're trying to get to and help you accomplish that long-term goal. There must be a strategic intent behind everything that's done from the moment you snap a picture to when you decide what to paint, what to fix up, if to stage, if not to stage, how to price. Everything must be done strategically.
I mean, what we learn in the home selling seminars that you put on, which are incredible as educational events, everything is done with a psychological need and an advantage. And that's what's so amazing about what Dan and I teach you at these home selling seminars is that everything's done with reason, with thought. And so that's what I guess what you're saying is you should expect and demand from the realtor that you're using. They should have these same types of programs in place.
Todd, just on a very basic level, we scroll, we're working through the MLS trying to find property for buyers or just doing research for our sellers on what the marketplace looks like. And so invariably we come across all of the photography, just starting at such a basic place, the photography that people put out there. And it boggles my mind. I don't care if it's a 1% commission or a 0.5% commission or a 10% commission. No matter, it boggles my mind that there are people out there paying even a penny for somebody to inappropriately represent their home. I mean, it should be against the law to take some cell phone shots of a home and slap them on a computer and tell your client that that's how you're selling property.
So I'm a realtor.
It pisses me off, man.
I'm a realtor or a photographer would be my question, right? I mean, because that would be the first question is, are you going to hire a professional photographer to take pictures of my home, or are you going to do it yourself?
And I'm not saying that's all there is to the sale, but just starting there
is a beginning.
Right?
It's a great start.
I'm talking about brochures that you'll find at a home that's just a piece of paper printed up at the office printer.
Or maybe given to
not
them by
even
their lender.
Professionally produced.
Right.
Yeah, or their lender just printed it up because the agent couldn't even. I mean, look, there are some wonderful agents in this county.
Right.
Many more than just myself, okay? There are some wonderful, absolutely top-notch professionals. But logically speaking, in an industry where you basically fog and mirror and get licensed,
right.
and there's no higher education needed to do so, then only through, logically speaking, then you're going to have a large part of the market functioning at a very low level. And let me tell you, your highest level practitioners in residential real estate here locally, they're as top-notch as any other professional, as your CPA, as your doctor, as your attorney, they're really phenomenal people. So the first thing you should do to answer your question, you're thinking about selling your home, demand a professional process.
So how do they get in touch with us, Dan, if they have any questions about this?
If you want to get in touch, if you want free tickets to the home selling workshops.
Right.
Okay, because they're coming up at the beginning of February. You can get your tickets. The phone numbers, they're free, by the way. The phone number is 858-900-3368. I'm going to give that to you again. 858-900-3368. And just give us a call. Tell us you're looking for tickets to the home selling workshop. This is where you're going to learn how to put a process in place that will help you gain a negotiating advantage over your buyer by using their own psychology against them. It's an amazing process. We've had fun being with you. The number's 858-900-3368.
Have a very Merry Christmas, everybody. We'll be back next week, but again, I'm Home Street Bank, and we look forward to working with you next week. Home Street Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender, NMLS ID number 304014.
Have a great Christmas on behalf of the Daniel Beer Group, and we'll talk to you before the new year. God bless you.